There, it's there.
Okay.
Okay.
So here's John Addick from OHCOW and Sue Freeman to talk about our exciting launch of the StressAssess, which we teased everybody with at May Day, and now is actually live. So they're going to do a quick overview and tell us why it's relevant to OCC disease as well.
Okay, first of all, something you probably already know, stress causes problems in the body. It can disrupt almost all your body processes, and this puts you at increased risk at a number of health problems. Bill 127 that came out in April and was announced at May Day is trying to correct a problem that was built into the Compensation Act back in 1995 when they put into the Act a section that's distinguished between chronic stress and other disabilities, and basically said we don't compensate for chronic stress. And the changes to the Act are now that after a number of challenges at WMH, which found it a violation of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, that this was, such a violation had to get changed. And so they passed the law that said it's now compensatable. So given that people are now going to be compensated for chronic stress, we have workplaces asking, well, how do we assess chronic stress in the workplace? We know how to measure things with ergonomics. We know how to measure things with hygiene. How do we measure things with such as chronic stress? And that's what this tool is meant to do. StressAssess is based on the Copenhagen Psychosocial Questionnaire, which has been validated and used throughout the world. And it's a solid tool that can measure the psychosocial factors in your workplace. And we've been working with the CCOHS to get this tool available online for workplaces. Now, before we established StressAssess, we went out and took our survey and did it across Canada. We had ECOS, a polling company, poll over 4,000 working Canadians to do the survey. And we worked with the IWH, Peter Smith there, and tested the reliability and the evidence for its validity in Canadian populations, both in English and French. And we're going to contribute that data to Data Worldwide, which in a couple of weeks we're meeting to pool the data to show that this not only works in Canada in English and French, but also works in Europe and South America and a number of other places. So StressAssess also connects well with the CSA standard on psychological health and safety in the workplace. We have 9 chronic stress factors and several health and safety factors. We also ask about symptoms, which is not something that's in the standard. And we use a 5-step process. And this we learned the hard way. We've been in probably over 100 workplaces now with the instrument. And there's a bit of a temptation to rush to the questionnaire because that's something tangible, something you can do. But we found out it's better to sit down and learn about what you're getting into first, then get your ducks in a row, organize yourself, and then once you're ready for that, do the survey, and then make the changes you want to and reevaluate later on. Yes. Yeah.
We're going to switch. Thanks, John. And just wanted to bring up the Canadian data that John referenced from his ECO survey. Some more of the unfortunate popular topics that were reported from those respondents are on the screen, and how the effects relate back to things you're talking about in legislation and changes in society that we heard about today about social marketing. And so, as many of you who are seated received a postcard double-sided, lots of information on it, including the website. It's in beta. And there are two different versions, the Workplace Edition and the Personal Edition. We're pushing forward into 2018 for full launch, but we're offering you a chance to experience StressAssess.ca from a workplace perspective or a personal edition, so that you can see how, either in a short version with personal or in a longer, more comprehensive administrated version with workplace, how these changes can be measured and realized. A sample set of questions, again from the 2016 version of Copenhagen 3, as John's calling it, really quite diving deep into the issues that are Canadian-centric as well. And this is, I can credit a lot of the work back to the mental injury tool group of many years that had put together a lot of research on this. Within StressAssess, there's a wizard, and it is part of a whole getting started portion about education and awareness. And as John's saying, it's not about rushing to survey, it's about getting prepared and having your plans in place before the survey even launches. So you can see we drew the thin red line, and you're doing all that before you even go back around to remind and get through it and look at the evaluation, which leads to John explaining a little bit more about the Canadian data. These are just some of the types of data points that you're going to see. Nice clear graphs, easy to capture, put into reports, have discussions about. It's just about bringing a clear language and very focused, supportive role to this issue. So I'm going to pass it back to John.
So from the ECOS data, we were able to capture some comparison numbers that would allow you to compare your workplace to the general population. Now, that being said, the general population, the average in Canada, is not necessarily the thing you want to shoot for, because as Senator Kirby says, it costs the Canadian economy about $50 billion due to stress, direct and indirect costs. So, even though the average is in white, that's not necessarily where you want to be. But this shows how you can compare your rates to the general population. In this workplace, they were not doing quite as good as the Canadian average, but we do have workplaces that are much better. And we also have solutions. Obviously, if you're finding your issues, you want to go to somewhere to get ideas to solve the problems. The problem with psychosocial hazards, though, is that there's no one thing that will fix everybody. It all has to be adapted to your situation. So the ILO has put out together this book called Stress Prevention, and it has checkpoints. It has 50 checkpoints, and you can focus in on specific issues, and it gives you some ideas on what to do, and those have been extracted and put into the StressAssess program. Are you next, or am I?
So just to wrap it up, it's encouraging once again, if you had questions about this, there's a specific email to reach out to OHCOW and try it. That's what we're inviting you to do as an Ontario prevention system. You are the first group to have seen this, because we literally launched this week as our beta. So thank you in advance for giving it a go. And if you have further questions, you'll know where John lives, and I have my business cards with me. So come ask us questions. We're here throughout the day. And we just really appreciate the opportunity to work with people like Alan Powell, who joins me today from CCOHS, John Odike and Valerie Wolf, who came to us with this wonderful work several years ago with the original app, Measure Workplace Stress, that we piloted. Brian Conroy, Krista Travers, who else is there? Oh, Leslie Shime, Puya Mohammed Hossein, and Oleg Kremiensky. that is the team that put this together back at CCOHS. We're very proud to bring it to you, so thank you.